My name is David Turner. I'm 45 years old, and if you had told me that my own brother would one day sit in court and call me unfit to raise my son, I would have laughed in your face. But there I was, inside a packed family courtroom, listening to my flesh and blood dismantle my reputation in front of a judge. Your Honor, my brother, Michael, said smoothly, David has always been irresponsible. He's lost job after job. He drinks more than he should. He lives in a rundown apartment, and he can't possibly provide the stability my nephew needs. Each word cut me like glass. I sat quietly at the defendant's table, my hands folded, staring down at the wooden surface. Across the room, my ex-wife, Linda, smirked with satisfaction. She and Michael had clearly coordinated this ambush, and the smug look on her lawyer's face confirmed it. Michael leaned forward, his voice growing louder, more confident. My brother disappears for days at a time. He lies about working, but he has no career to speak of. He has no savings. No future. If the court grants him custody of my nephew, it will destroy the boy's life. I glanced at my son, Ethan, sitting in the front row beside my sister-in-law. His brown eyes darted back and forth nervously, confusion etched on his young face. He was only 10. Too young to understand the lies being thrown around the courtroom. Linda's attorney, Mr. Keller, rose to his feet. Your Honor, we believe it is clear that the child's best interests are served by placing him with his mother, and if necessary, granting secondary guardianship to his uncle. Mr. Turner is clearly unstable and financially incapable. I could feel every pair of eyes in the courtroom pressing against me, judging me, doubting me. To them, I was the man Michael had described, a washed-up failure clinging to custody out of pride. Judge Emily Lawson looked down from the bench, her expression unreadable. Mr. Turner, she said at last, you've heard the testimony against you. Do you have any response to these claims? I stood slowly, taking a deep breath. For 15 years, I had lived with restraint, hiding the truth about my life from my family. I had done it to protect Ethan, to give him a normal childhood. But now my silence was being used against me. Yes, Your Honor, I said steadily. I would like to call a witness. Linda's lawyer immediately objected. Your Honor, we weren't notified of any witnesses. Judge Lawson raised an eyebrow. Mr. Turner. The witness only became available this morning, I replied calmly. But I believe his testimony will shed light on these accusations. The judge hesitated, then nodded. Very well. Call your witness. I turned toward the doors of the courtroom. They opened, and in walked a tall man in a sharp gray suit. His presence drew immediate attention. His face was familiar to anyone who had ever watched the evening news. Whispers rippled through the room. Is that? No way. I looked directly at the judge. Your Honor, I would like to call General Robert Hayes, retired commander of U.S. Special Forces, to the stand. The gasps that filled the courtroom were deafening. Michael's face drained of color. Linda's smirk vanished. Ethan's eyes widened in disbelief. General Hayes walked with steady authority to the witness stand. Even at 60, his posture was ramrod straight, his eyes sharp and commanding. The bailiff swore him in, and silence fell. General, I began, my voice firm, could you please identify me for the court? The general turned his gaze to me and spoke with the measured confidence of a man who had commanded thousands. You are Colonel David Turner, former leader of the 3rd Special Operations Regiment, decorated with multiple honors, including the Silver Star and Distinguished Service Cross. You served this nation for over 20 years with distinction. The courtroom froze. Michael looked like he'd been punched in the gut. Linda's lawyer shuffled through his notes in a panic. Even Judge Lawson leaned forward, eyebrows raised. And, General, I continued, could you describe the nature of my work during those years? Colonel Turner led classified missions critical to national security, Hayes said gravely. Many of his records remain sealed, but I can confirm he was responsible for operations that saved countless American lives. After his retirement, he continued serving as a defense consultant and currently earns a substantial income working on federal security contracts. Gasps again. My rundown apartment and unemployment narrative crumbled instantly. General, I pressed on, could you also speak to my character? Hayes smiled slightly. David Turner is one of the most disciplined, reliable, and honorable men I've ever served with. If he's capable of leading soldiers through life-or-death missions, I assure this court he is more than capable of raising his son. Ethan's eyes glowed with pride. He sat straighter, his small chest puffed up as if realizing for the first time who his father really was. I turned back toward Judge Lawson. Your Honor, the reason my family knows none of this is because I never spoke of it. I wanted Ethan to grow up without the burden of his father's military reputation overshadowing him. I chose a quiet life after retirement, and I never corrected my family's assumptions because I valued privacy. Michael sprang to his feet. This is absurd. He's lying. If any of this were true, we'd have known. General Hayes' glare silenced him. I personally commanded Colonel Turner for 12 years. His record is a matter of public documentation. If you doubt me, Your Honor, the Department of Defense can provide his file. The courtroom buzzed again, this time with murmurs of admiration instead of condemnation. Judge Lawson looked directly at me. Mr. Turner, or should I say, Colonel, do you have documentation to support your financial stability? Yes, Your Honor. I handed over bank statements, defense contracts, and my retirement pension paperwork. Together, they painted a picture of not just stability, but abundance. Linda buried her face in her hands. Michael's jaw tightened, his carefully rehearsed lies collapsing. I faced the judge one last time. Your Honor, I've dedicated my life to protecting this country. Now I want to dedicate the rest of it to raising my son. Ethan deserves stability, guidance, and love, and I can provide all three. Judge Lawson reviewed the evidence silently. After a long pause, she spoke. Given the testimony provided, the supporting documentation, and the credibility of General Hayes, I find no basis for the claims made against Mr. Turner. Full custody of Ethan will be granted to his father. The mother is granted visitation rights under a structured schedule. As for Mr. Michael Turner, the court is deeply concerned about his attempt to provide false and misleading testimony. This matter may be referred for further review. The gavel struck. Case closed. Ethan leapt from his seat and ran into my arms. Dad, he whispered, his voice trembling with pride, you're a hero. I hugged him tightly. No, son. I'm just your father. That's the most important title I'll ever have. Michael tried to approach me afterward, his face pale. David, I didn't know. I thought I was helping Linda. I stopped him cold. You tried to take my son from me with lies. That's not help. That's betrayal. He lowered his head, unable to meet my eyes. As Ethan and I walked out of the courtroom, his hand gripping mine tightly, I felt lighter than I had in years. For the first time, my son knew the truth. Not just about my past, but about the values I lived by, integrity, sacrifice, and love. Some battles you fight on foreign soil. Some battles you fight in a courtroom. But the most important victories? They happen in the hearts of the ones you fight for.